Welcome back, Soul Tribe, to episode 13 of the Soul Method podcast.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights.
Hi,
Won't
everyone,
stop for
and
traffic
welcome.
light.
This is Joelle Fawcett, and I am your host and the founder of the Soul Method, where our mission is to be your guide to heal from the past, be at peace in the present, and create a future you love. And welcome to episode 13 of the Soul Method podcast, titled, What is Reiki? So, at least once a week, Joe and I will be out with our tribe, and someone will pull me aside and kind of whisper, "That's so cool that you got your Reiki master certification, but what is Reiki?" So, this has happened so many times that I've decided to dedicate an entire episode of this podcast to Reiki, what it is not, and how it can benefit your healing journey. I feel like Reiki is one of those terms that has become very popular in the past 10 years as the New Age movement has really come into play, as it's no longer become taboo to talk about energy work. And while the term Reiki is thrown around a lot, what I'm discovering as I've become a certified master teacher is that not a lot of people have a lot of education on exactly what it is. So, before I get started, I will give this disclaimer. While I am a Reiki master teacher and I believe completely in the healing methodology of this craft, it will never replace the emergency room. Reiki is a holistic form of energy healing that is best done from a preventative state or at the onset of mental, physical, or emotional symptoms. This is not to replace the ambulance after a car crash. All right? Everybody with me? In my own personal words, we live in a first world country for a reason. I take advantage of the medical system that we have here, as well as do lots of holistic energy work to prevent ever needing that type of thing. Okay, now that we've got that taken care of. So, the big question, what is Reiki? The word Reiki can be broken into two parts. Rei, meaning universal or divine, and Ki, meaning energy. So, simply putting that together, Reiki means universal energy. Reiki is an ancient meditative healing method where a practitioner will channel or conduct this universal energy to the receiver through the laying on of hands. When done properly, the Reiki practitioner is a channel, so no personal energy is drawn or drained from the giver, who is simultaneously strengthened by this practice. Also, it's not just people who can receive Reiki. I use this practice all the time to Reiki animals, spaces, or even past or future events. Reiki is a practice that can be combined with many other types of energetic healing, such as pendulum work, crystals, tuning forks, etc., etc. When we are born, we have this universal energy flowing through us, and it is what makes us alive on this planet. We all come to life with a certain amount of ki or energy, and we use this energy to perform tasks and live our life. We then go to sleep or do other restorative practices to fill up our cup of energy again. When we are unable to make up for our energy consumption for a long period of time, aka we live in stress, don't sleep enough, like most of the people you and I know, our supply of life force energy becomes low. And as a result, we may begin to suffer from physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion and eventually become sick. I'm not going to go into all of the science based studies that relate stress and exhaustion to a multitude of physical illnesses here because at that point, this is really well known, even in the highly scientific Western medical community. The foundational belief of Reiki is that a physical symptom shows up to show us that there is something energetically out of place or not functioning properly in the body. Reiki simultaneously treats the spiritual and mental causes of illnesses rather than just physical symptoms. On this topic, I'll share a quote from the Swiss alchemist Paracelsus, who lived during the Renaissance and is credited to be the father of modern toxicology. He said, quote, "Until we know the state of your inner harmony, we can at most release you from your illness because your inner harmony is the source of your health. But when we release you from one illness, you will immediately catch another because nothing has been done with regard to your inner harmony. The fact of the matter is that your inner harmony is what must be supported." End quote. And that, Soul Tribe, is what Reiki does. There are a few theories on where Reiki comes from exactly, but my personal Reiki lineage goes back to Dr. Mikao Usui, who rediscovered Reiki in the 19th century. The tradition of Reiki is based on 2,500-year-old writings in Sanskrit, which is the ancient Indian language, and also the same language that yoga is based on. Hint, hint, it is no coincidence that I practice both. Reiki is a practice that is passed down by word of mouth and initiation or attunement from person to person. And honestly, I think it's one of the few practices that is still passed on this way in today's world. Similar to a family tree or a bloodline, my Reiki lineage can be traced directly back to Dr. Usui. There are several renditions of Dr. Mikao Usui's story. And as some of the details have changed over the years, I'll share the general story with you now. Dr. Mikao Usui lived at the end of the 19th century and was the director and Christian priest of a small university in Kyoto, Japan. One day, some of his senior students asked him if he believed in the healing miracles of Christ and whether he was able to demonstrate such type of healing. Dr. Usui had no answer for this question. However, this led to great changes in his life. He gave up his teaching position and started on a quest to study the healing methods of Christ. While he was searching, he came across some material that greatly interested him in Buddhist scriptures. Buddha was an enlightened master who lived around 600 BC and traveled as a monk through distant regions of India, teaching meditation and self-realization. In the years following his death, most of his followers were driven out of the country. As they fled, they spread his teaching through Tibet, Nepal, Japan, China, and distant parts of Asia. Today, Buddhism is widespread in these Eastern countries. Usui was aware that Buddha had also possessed this power of healing, so he searched for specific information on the methods Buddha used. Usui learned the ancient Indian language of Sanskrit and studied the original Buddhist writings in his quest for healing knowledge. In one of these ancient writings, he found the symbols and mantras which are key to the Reiki system of healing. However, at the time, Usui did not know how he should use these pictorial characters or the names to bring about healing. During his years of study, Usui spent considerable time in a Buddhist monastery where he became friends with the head abbot. On that abbot's advice, Usui embarked on a 21-day meditation and fast on a holy mountain near Kyoto. On the last day of his fast, he had a deep meditation experience. He saw a shining light in the sky which moved quickly towards him. This light struck him in the middle of his forehead, which is the third eye or sixth chakra, and he found himself to be in a state of extended consciousness. In this higher state, Usui saw many bubbles of rainbow colored light. Finally, a great white light appeared to him, in which, as if on a film screen, he recognized the familiar symbols from Sanskrit sutras, glowing in gold. Simultaneously, the application of the symbols and mantras became clear to him, and he felt charged with a powerful healing force. At the end of this incredible healing and enlightening experience, Usui began his descent from the holy mountain. In his haste, he stubbed his toe quite badly, causing it to not only throb, but to bleed as well. When he held his hands around his foot, the bleeding immediately stopped and the pain vanished. This was his first experience of such extraordinary and rapid healing. After Usui spent a few weeks in the monastery of his friend, he decided to go into the slums of Kyoto to heal the sick. Through his 7 years of experience in the slums, Usui came to recognize that, although he had healed the physical body of its symptoms of disease, he had not taught a new way of living. This prompted him to set out the Reiki rules for life. These principles, though laid down more than 100 years ago, are still of significance today and are taught during the first Reiki certification. While Usui was in the slums, he had offered his services free of charge, but he recognized that when offered for free, often people would not take responsibility for their situation and instead would become dependent on the healing. Now he saw how essential it was that when people receive healing, that they also give something in return. An energy exchange between healer and receiver is vital. On the basis of his experience in Kyoto, Usui now decided to travel in order to apply and teach Reiki. A few years before his death, Dr. Usui initiated a retired naval officer, Dr. Hayashi, in the Reiki method and declared him his successor. Dr. Hayashi opened a private Reiki clinic in Tokyo, and here Reiki practitioners were trained and patients were treated. The Reiki healers worked in groups and often around the clock, and also made home visits. So when I say Dr. Hayashi was a retired naval officer, we're talking about a retired naval officer from World War I. So that's about the time frame that we are looking at. Hawayo Takata, a young Japanese woman living in Hawaii who was suffering from a number of serious disorders, including a tumor, followed an innate call not to have an operation, but instead sought healing in Japan. And through sheer coincidence, she heard of the Reiki clinic and went there for treatment. As a result, she became completely healed of her illnesses. Takata became Hayashi's student and stayed there with him for a year. She then returned to Hawaii, where she worked successfully as a healer. In 1938, she was initiated by Dr. Hayashi as a master of the Usui system of Reiki. After Hayashi's death in 1941, Takata became his successor. Takata healed and taught for many years, and in the last years before her death, she began to train some of her students as Reiki masters. By the time she passed away in 1980, she had initiated 22 masters, among them being Beth Gray. Now, at this point, Takata had brought Reiki to America, and Beth Gray is an American on the mainland. Beth Gray taught Hannelore Goodwin, and Goodwin taught my Reiki master and teacher, Trish Coady. Now, Do we know exactly all of the facts to this story? No. And if you look it up on the internet or read different books, certain pieces of the story will vary. However, the general consensus is the same, that Dr. Mikao Usui had a meditative awakening of sorts on a mountain, and the mantras and symbols that are key to Reiki were revealed to him, and that he then went on to teach Dr. Hayashi, who taught Takata, and then so on. The awesome part is that as this tradition of Reiki has been passed down, there are more and more branches to the tree, which is really awesome as this practice spreads. Now, I have heard people say, you don't need to be certified to practice Reiki. And most of the time, this comes out of the understanding that we all have this energy or life force flowing through us, which is completely true. We all are born with this energy flowing through us. It is innate. Every living creature and being, including plants and animals, has this life force flowing through them. However, saying that you don't need to be certified to practice Reiki is a little bit like saying, well, I have a mouth and I brush my teeth, so why would I need to go to school to be a dentist? Or, I can give myself a good foot rub. Why would I need to go to school to be a masseuse? You get the picture. So please, for the love of the goddess, do not practice dentistry, massage, or Reiki without being properly educated and certified. As a Reiki practitioner, we do manipulate energy. And as an untrained person, you would most likely drain yourself of this life force because you haven't been attuned to channel it properly. There are 3 levels of Reiki certification: level 1, level 2, and the level of Reiki Master Teacher. When being certified in each level of Reiki, the teacher will attune each student. These attunements are what differentiate Reiki from all other healing methods. The special thing about these attunements is that they enable this life force to flow through you as your inner healing channel is opened. Reiki works on all planes: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And like I mentioned before, the intent is not just to band aid physical symptoms, although it does do that quite well. Reiki looks to heal the underlying energetic imbalances in the mental, emotional, and spiritual planes that have manifested that physical symptom in the first place. It can be used as a preventative practice to restore, relax, and recharge a person as well. I give myself and my children Reiki treatments on just about a daily basis for that purpose. And Joe gets lots of Reiki too. He is just not always aware of it. So, surprise, Joe, if you ever listen to this. At the levels of Reiki 2 and Reiki Master Teacher, you are also taught Reiki symbols and mantras that correlate with them. And these are the symbols that were revealed to Dr. Mikao Usui when he was on that mountain. In ancient times, Tibetan monks recognized that our healing channels could be set to, quote unquote, vibrate to transfer more energy. These Reiki symbols and mantras are used in a similar way to increase the vibrational frequency of the whole body to powerfully channel energy. The Reiki symbols and their mantras are confidential and are only passed on to students of the second and third degree by their Reiki master teacher. It is by using the symbols that you are attuned to in a certification that you are able to channel energy rather than using your own life force. So if you go online and search YouTube or go into random books somewhere, you will probably find some of these symbols published. However, if you use symbols that you are not attuned to in an initiation by a Reiki master teacher, you will end up exhausted because they are not energetically connected to you. So that's my word of warning. Don't try to cheat the system. What I can share about these symbols and their mantras is that there are 4 of them. The first one activates general available energy. The second one adds a quality of harmony and peace and is used often to balance the chakra system of the body. The third one works at the mental level. It opens up intuition, strengthens the ability to see as it's connected to the 6th chakra. And those 3 are always used in distance healing. The fourth symbol or master symbol that you are taught when you are becoming a Reiki master teacher strengthens the ability to open up to higher energies and become a wide channel for them. For me, this was absolutely the most powerful attunement that I experienced and the most powerful symbol that I use when performing Reiki on myself or a client. Now, once you've gone through this process, you've been certified, you've been attuned, you will retain it for the rest of your life. Even if you've taken a 5 or 10 year break, if you recommit yourself to it, you don't need to go back and get attuned again. The strength of your energy channel is largely based on how often you use it. So if you have taken a bit of a break and you go back, the energy channel will be there and you can recommit yourself to the practice. I've met people who are only certified in Reiki 1, but because they practice Reiki daily, the strength of their channel is more powerful than a person who is attuned to the level of Reiki master, but they haven't practiced in 5 years. So keep that in mind. If you're interested in becoming certified at any level of Reiki, the more often you use it, the stronger it will be. One of the ways that Reiki works on a person is by balancing the 7 major chakras of the body. When someone comes to me for Reiki as a client, I'll start the session by using a pendulum to assess the state of the 7 major chakras. Now, pendulum work is not a traditional part of Reiki, but for me, it's something that I learned from my Reiki master teacher and added it onto my practice. Now, I promise we will spend an entire episode talking about chakras. However, just to quickly go over this, the 7 major chakras of the body go up our bilateral line. So they split the body in half, like going up vertically through your middle. And these 7 chakras are the root chakra, Muladhara in the Sanskrit, and is the color red. The sacral chakra, or Svadhisthana in the Sanskrit, the color orange. Solar plexus, Manipura, the color yellow. Heart, Anahata in the Sanskrit, the color green. Your throat, Vishuddha in the Sanskrit, the color blue. Ajna, or your third eye, in the color indigo. And then the crown chakra, or Sahasrara, and the color violet. And yes, the colors of the rainbow correspond to the chakra colors of our energy bodies. And like I said, I'm not going to go into insane detail about the chakras here because that would make this episode ridiculously long. But I am going to do an episode very soon covering in detail each one of these chakras. Each Reiki session is usually about an hour long, and I am personally committed to each one of my clients to provide clear communication, feedback, and create a safe space during each session. Now, a few things I want to make clear that Reiki is and is not, because there tends to be a lot of confusion about this when you talk about different modalities of energy work. Each modality is different. They are not the same thing. Think about them like different languages. They all use voice to communicate, but just because you use your voice to communicate in English doesn't mean that you understand someone using their voice to communicate in Spanish, right? They are different, even though different modalities of energy work all still use this life force for the purpose of healing. So, number one, Reiki is not witchcraft. While I am a witch, I practice witchcraft. That is not what Reiki is, nor what I do in a Reiki session with myself or with my clients. Reiki is not massage. In a Reiki session, there is the laying on of hands. However, massage physically manipulates muscles for toxin release and relaxation. Reiki manipulates energy through the laying on of hands. Okay, two different things. Number three, Reiki is not based in theory. Reiki is scientifically backed as proven to change the energetic vibration of its practitioners and its clients. And lastly, Reiki is not to be taken lightly. The first time, honestly, I went to a Reiki session as a client, the energetic effect was so powerful, I almost could not drive home afterwards. It was similar to being in a very deep meditation or that state when you've been sick and just taken medicine. You can feel the medicine working in your body, but you still feel groggy and you need to rest and allow the healing to integrate. Now, everyone experiences Reiki in a different way. However, if you are going to a Reiki session for the first time, don't plan a really busy schedule for immediately afterwards. This is not the thing that you do before you go to the gym. Okay. Now, myself, I've had some absolutely amazing experiences and healings happen for me while giving and receiving Reiki. I have been receiving Reiki as a client twice a month from my Reiki master teacher for about 2.5 years now. And I've been giving myself Reiki on as often of a daily basis as I can since I was certified last year. And these are some of the awesome things that I've found. My seasonal allergies disappeared. They do not exist anymore, which is really cool. I am more grounded more often. And when I'm not grounded, here's the thing. When I'm not grounded, if I'm feeling really anxious, if my energy is really pulled up, I feel tight, I don't feel able to relax, I have the tools to ground myself. My intuition is much stronger, and my psychic medium abilities have come to the forefront of my awareness. When I broke my toe this past winter, yeah, I did break my toe doing yoga. It's okay, you can laugh. I thought it was funny too. When I broke my toe this past winter, it healed in about 3 weeks because I did Reiki on it every day, and my Reiki master teacher worked on it as well. In Reiki meditations, I've connected with my spirit guides and deceased family members and energetically released a lot of negative ties to my personal past. Also, I don't get sick. The one exception to that being the kidney infection that I got this past year, which literally happened a week after I quit drinking alcohol. So I can't imagine that that episode wasn't related to the physical detox of that choice. But besides that, I don't get the flu, I don't get colds, and neither do my kids. So, all of that being said, I hope that this episode has rounded out your understanding of Reiki. A lot of the information that I've shared with you in this book has come from my personal experience, as well as several books, one of them being The Power of Reiki by Tanmaya Honorvogt. And there are a lot of great resources out there if you're interested in learning more. If you would like to book a Reiki session with me, or if you are interested in becoming certified in Reiki, Or if you have more questions, definitely reach out to me. You guys know I'm here for you. You can contact me on the Soul Method Facebook page, which is at the Soul Method Yoga, or email me at Joelle, Joelle, at the.SoL.method.com. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Definitely let me know your thoughts and takeaways from this episode, and I'll talk to you all soon. Until next time.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic.